Do you have a desire to build wealth for you and your family? If so, there are 6 critical things that you must do if you're going to build wealth in this economy. That's what we're going to talk about today. What are they? Clarity, planning, the 10-10-80 rule, goals, investing, and discipline and consistency. So let's jump into that discussion and have some fun right now. How many times have you thought yourself or heard other people say, oh, wealth? I could never be wealthy. I mean, I'm just barely existing from paycheck to paycheck. People have a mindset that says it's not possible to become wealthy. And I'm here to tell you today, nothing could be further from the truth. But how do we go about achieving wealth? It's not some ethereal thing that just happens to those lucky few. You too can become wealthy if you will follow this 6-step process that we're going to talk about today. The first thing that we have to do is to get clarity. Well, what kind of clarity? We need to know where we are. If you're going to take a trip, you can go out and you can jump in your car and you can plug in the destination you want to go to into your GPS. But the first thing the GPS needs to know is, where are you? I'll be happy to take you from where you are to where you want to be, but I can't get to where you want to be until I know where you are. It's very, very important for us to get clarity on our financial situation. Understanding how much income do we have coming in? How much are we paying out in expenses? What kinds of debt do we have and at what interest rates? How much savings do we have? What do we have saved for retirement? What do we have in investments and things like that? Once we get a clear picture of that, that gives us a foundation upon which to build to say, are we ready to invest and begin creating wealth? Or do we have other issues like getting out of debt and paying off credit card debt and things like that that we need to address first? The second thing we need to consider as part of the wealth building process is that of planning. Once you get clarity on where you are, you need a plan to take you from where you are to where you want to be. And that's where someone like me, a financial coach, comes into play to be able to sit down with you and not only help you gain that clarity, but then begin to put together a step-by-step action plan to take you from where you are toward your destination. The third thing we need to understand is what I'll call the allocation of resources. And it comes into what Jim Rohn, one of my mentors, calls the 10-10-80 plan. And basically what he says is that as you're living your life and you're starting out, the first 10% that you make should go to God or to a charity if you prefer. But the key to it is to be charitable, to begin to develop a charitable heart and a charitable mindset by giving the first 10% of everything that you make away. The next 10% goes to investing and saving for the future. And then the final 80%, you find a way to live off of. When you do that, you begin to stack the deck in your favor because you're being charitable with the first part of your money, you're investing or saving the second part, and you're finding a way to live on what's left. The fourth key is setting realistic, achievable, but stretch goals. Now notice I said realistic, achievable, but stretch. So we want to be very realistic with the goals that we set. We don't want to, if we have $150,000 in debt and we have $10,000 a year in income, we don't want to sit back and say, okay, I'm going to pay that $150,000 off in 6 months. That's not a realistic goal. But we have to be realistic. The goal has to be achievable, but we want to stretch ourselves because as we stretch our money, as we get creative about how can we increase income, how can we reduce expenses, we grow as individuals. And that's ultimately what we want to do because the more we grow, the better off we're going to be. One of my mentors, John Maxwell, has a law that he calls the law of the lid. And the way I explain it is this: imagine yourself in a jar with a lid above your head. that lid limits you in what you can achieve. And the only way that you can move that lid up and be able to achieve more is to become more. You need to become a different person. And stretch goals will help you to become that person. The fifth one is investing. Once you've paid down all of your debt, except for the mortgage on your house, you want to start setting aside at least 15, maybe 20% of the income that you have toward investing in order to be able to begin building wealth for the future and creating financial security so that when things like a pandemic hit, you have a cushion to fall back on to carry you through the situations that you're going to encounter in life. And the sixth point is that all of these things, getting clarity, having a plan, the 10-10-80 rule, goals, and investing, all require two things: discipline and consistency. Now, discipline is getting yourself to do the thing that you need to do once. Consistency is doing it time after time after time after time. If you will follow these 6 key principles, you too can become wealthy, you can become financially free, and you can relieve yourself of all of the stress that being in debt causes in your life.